It is 3:58 post meridian, Friday, June 24th, 2022. We are cataloging the apocalypse. Um, Cloudy, not as hot, not nearly as hot as it was yesterday. On Wednesday, the takeout and delivery business was ultra slow, apparently across the board. Gas station business, but not any of the takeouts or deliveries. And then last night, back to normal, really good. It was a weird, like, aberration of a day. We were also having a weird thing where all of the parking lot lights for the entire plaza that our store is located in were just flickering, but it wasn't random. It was like a this, these two, this. Like everything was timed and rhythmic. I don't know if there was a pattern to it or not. I was just doing an impression of it. That's not what it was doing. And then last night, well, okay, so then that was the day I think that was when that Wednesday was the Supreme Court talking about. It's odd that the Supreme Court is like the center of like main public dialogue and you know, like, as opposed to Congress or the president. Like, yes, there are three branches of government with top levels, and it's like just now deciding to pay attention to who's being placed in what positions and why. And so Wednesday was the thing that I think, from what I understand, effectively makes every may issue state a shall issue state, and it does not directly affect, well, there's still may issue in that they have to pass a background check, I guess, technically, but in a shall issue state, if you pass the background check, they shall issue the license to acquire or to carry, depending. So it's like you don't have to like prove a reason. That's the ruling. And it affects like 5 states directly in the near future. That was Wednesday. It does not affect here. So then Thursday was all whatever, but Thursday night, come to find out at the end of the night that SCOTUS, I can't really insult their by name now. I have to call them the Supreme Court of the United States because they have actually ruled constitutionally now twice in a week. Not talking about the Roe thing, talking about other stuff. The Roe thing I'm just not even going to discuss. It's going to come down to states' rights, depends on what state you live in. That's about all there is to it. If you don't like it, either change your state or change where you live. I suppose they were in a no-win position. They had 2 days with which to present opinions on their ending of this session. And it was a monumental ending because it's a lifetime appointment. You are on until you retire, that's it. And one of them's retiring after this session. There was a whole big hullabaloo. That's why there's a whole new Supreme Court justice about to be in for the next session. At this time, it makes it so that instead of theoretically having a 6-3, they have a 5-4 on the conservative side of things. But this is some goofy shit because the Chief Justice himself, appointed by a Republican, the thing is, though, here's the deal. He was appointed by George W. Bush. George W. Bush was also kind of a puppet president to some special interest groups and political corruption. And it's the uniparty, 2 wings of the same bird kind of thing. Some of the left wing and Democrat type liberal presidents and such have been, also corrupted to the same ends. It's like, it's just changing, what team jersey you're wearing or whatever. And he does not always run on like a conservative whatever. So what you've got is 4 real conservative justices and 4 real liberal justices. Am I getting that right? Or liberal-ish. And now because you used to have 5, and okay, so it was like you had 4 conservatives and 3 liberals. 1 conservative retired, they'd put a liberal in place because we want to fill out check boxes. And which was their stated goal on campaign and on, it's like you can't, if there's only one thing you can say about the current president and his administration, is that there's a few promises they made that they've appeared to have followed through on. So it is what it is, and there's a lifetime appointment. There ain't much you can do. But this Chief Justice is theoretically a Republican or GOP nominee appointment. However, his rulings have been right down the middle. You just don't know where he's going to go with it. I was honestly surprised that he joined in on the thing with the New York Pistol and Rifle and Pistol Association versus, what was it, Bruin. That's what it was. Remember the name. So this made a big change. I'm surprised he went with it. It doesn't like change everything for everyone, but it's like, like baby steps in a certain direction. The Roe thing, the only people that are truly upset about it are people that don't understand it. Like I said, I don't want to get deep into it. It's not, I do understand it, and it's neither a good thing nor a bad thing that they've ruled it. I haven't seen any deep examination of the final draft of the ruling, though, as to what application this has in terms of the law. Then there's also the matter of states not observing federal statute or court ruling. We're on such a tricky spot. What we're actually looking at is the Constitution lays out a framework under which the government is allowed to exist and govern the population, the area, and the people that live in it. The social contract is that the people living in that area do things like pay taxes, observe their other civic duties, obey the law, etc. That there are consequences that we all agree are, so that's what it basically means, is that we don't stop the cops when they arrest someone and haul them off for something. And then there is also in the Constitution a guarantee that each person who lives in this country has the right to due process. Not that the government allows that right, but the right exists to begin with, and the government is forced to acknowledge it. In all rights, all circumstances, that's what it comes down to. This is called the rule of law. The rule of law, therefore, applies uniformly, and things are fair, or lopsidedly, or with some kind of double standards, in which case the real argument as to why the rule of law is even just to begin with is kind of not there. You can't argue that and also have a double standard. So what we're looking at is, are we going to find a future where the double standard is enforced, or where things are applied fairly? Right now, a double standard is enforced, although they're doing some fair judgments. So what we're looking at is states. The Constitution of the federal government guarantees states' rights to anything that is not specifically, when they say enumerated, that means we listed out point by point the things the government's duties are. And if it's not listed on that list, it's the states to figure out individually. So then the states have rights. And the states have the right to do the rights within their own. So then the states all have constitutions. So the specific state by state situation is that the state constitution cannot exceed the United States Constitution. So each state's Bill of Rights is slightly different, but it cannot undermine the overall theme of the original constitution. So that's where state by state you have different limitations on, for example, gun rights. There's also different limitations on things like, for example, abortion. Um, those things are determined by the people in the state legislation, the state governor. They pass laws in the same way, that same general sense that the United States government passes laws, and sometimes those states pass laws that were uh, end up being like things like constitutional amendments or such, whatever. And one way or another, states have the ability to have their people vote on a thing where they not so much secede. Texas has a secession clause in its state constitution. However, like Iowa doesn't, that I'm aware of. But what Iowa already has done is said that they've passed laws that said that our state level enforcement of federal statute in certain instances will be defiant. There are other states that have said the same thing. There are ones that went so far as to become like, sanctuary for particular amendment right kind of things. I see the same thing happening for abortion. I see the same thing happening for a number of other things. That it's just basically what typifies the tribalism between the two sides, and as far as which states go for which. Then there's also the issue of within each state, there are the large cities versus the outlying rural areas. The impact of this could be that certain parts of certain states may choose to secede and join other states because they are more like that type of government's mindset or whatever. The shapes of states may change. New small substates may come of this. This is the beginning of that balkanization. The peaceful separation is that each state has its own thing. The federal government still exists, and the federal government's going to make rulings and edicts where certain states may choose not to obey. So it's like California may choose not to go with the Supreme Court's ruling on the individual right to bear arms, and may still enforce various infringements that then the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court does not have enforcing power, and they cannot in any way compel the executive branch to enforce that on a state legislature. That is just not how that works. I believe that's outlined in the Constitution that is tyranny. So they can't do that. Like, there are rules, people are following it. It's pieces in motion. So the states are going to become their own. And even though, like, Iowa and Nebraska may live near each other and may be very similar in their political whatevers, their laws are going to end up in some ways becoming distinctly different state by state. So it is going to be a matter of knowing what the rules are when you enter a state. In one state, like, you go from Iowa to Illinois, if you're just concealed carrying a gun without a permit, once you're in Illinois, you need an Illinois permit to conceal carry, I believe. So it's going to become tricky. People are going to become, incarcerated in states they don't reside in or whatever. Or, a person from Iowa may have the state government extradite them back, and then it's like, you'll figure your thing out. Well, okay, well, you could pay a fine, who knows, for something like that. But it's like, I don't know to what extent it will go, is what I'm getting at. And because I don't know if there's going to be fair enforcement, whether the federal government has any recourse against any states other than to sue them in Supreme Court, because state by state or federal government versus state cases take place and are heard in the Supreme Court. And at this time, they now have 4 left, 4 right, and one guy who I don't even know. I do not like, though. I want to say something I do know. I do not like the amount of content rolling through YouTube this morning and afternoon of people's reactions. Not reaction channels, but being like, "Oh, people are freaking out." Yeah, dude, some people are making a big old hoopla. Like I said, those are the people that don't understand or are paid to make a hoopla to try and make other people feel like making a hoopla. But the amount of, hey, look at these people doing this, it's like, bro, but you know what they're doing, so why are you, but they don't seem to know what, I don't understand. It bugs me. It's annoying. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm just like scroll, scroll, scroll. So I mentioned a little bit at the outset of the situation in my life at work. And I tend to be vague and not mention a lot of things. I will say, my sister and her boyfriend have both started working at the store, and that's cool so far. Uh, Back in the day, it was like, man, I wish she would come work here. This place would be a great influence on her, but she was into some bad shit, and it was not the right time. And maybe now it's the right time. I hope it's the right time because it's like where I work is like this store in this town is different from any other one in the franchise or in the company. The company has talked to the previous owners and were like, this place is so different. And it was a literal mom and pop owned uh, store that employed several people, many of whom were not related to them, but they would hire each other's family members for good or for bad. And the environment and the culture from the store persisted from the existing employees to the next ones through new ownership because the people who owned it, who sold it, had always told me that they would only sell it to the right person. It was for sale, but the person had to have the finances in line properly first, but they also because like there's rules for buying at Domino's, but like they were like we will only sell to the right person. And when they finally sold, they sold to the guy that owns it now. And from what I've seen of him and met him a few times and the stuff that he's done for us, the state Supreme Court versus the company itself regarding our rights, was, yeah, they picked the right person. So now in this environment, hopefully it works out, is a good situation for both of them. They're kind of in the, I think they're sharing expenses or whatever. They got their own places though too, and but however it is that they need to be able to, or I don't know, maybe they're not sharing it, but it's like they need to do well. They need a good environment in which to do it. I think that that's what we got going there. So yeah, that's some good news on that front. As far as how the things in the world affect me, there's good days and bad days with the job. So far, I'm not going under. I'm going to probably start driving my sister's car that she's offered for me to use. I got to make sure of what the requirements are of or what my insurance can do, and you know what this to make sure that it's properly insured as far as the company's system goes. And then driving a V6, which is not too different from my coworker's Cadillac, in a Buick, will I think save me a fair bit of money. I think the amount that I'll be putting out every night will be considerably less. And then I can save up more to get things fixed on my truck and get things like property tax and other stuff took care of. But anyways, um, I honestly don't know what the locals are going to be feeling or thinking if they're even paying attention to any of that kind of news. If that's the thing, I know there are some. I also know that it's just the first days of summer. I know that the summer madness has set in. There's a fireworks stand just up the street from one of the ghetto places. There's lots of fireworks going off, and I have heard as last night at the end of the evening, standing out listening to them go off. Every time I hear them, I stop and listen because occasionally interspersed through those fireworks, there are some not fireworks. So, yeah, And that's just summertime starting. That has nothing to do with if anybody's going to go gonzo after this morning's Supreme Court thing. Where I live, I don't think there's anywhere of consequence that would. I don't think anybody has anything they should be doing here like that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, being out here in the sticks, as it were, some people also kind of get jealous of the action. So, hopefully, tonight is a peaceful and productive night, and that the people in this area are not stupid and enraged. That's all I got. This will upload once I head to work and get better signal.